podmas again every day until Christmas. I'm scrolling TikTok at 3 a.m. because my nervous system's too fucked to go to sleep and I feel too anxious to put my phone down. Is that why I'm having an existential crisis? There are always going to be a million other things you could have decided to do. I'm broken. Bart is of course here. Say hello, Bart. I guess it's time for the check-in. Like I say every time, if you have your favorite journal prompt, whatever your favorite question is, your favorite journal prompt, you can put it in this jar. If you want to come to my house and put it in manually, send me a DM, instagram.com/we're all like other girls. If you're normal and nice and in the area, come to my house. We can record a podcast together. I'm being deadly fucking serious. My dream for this podcast, if you've ever been to a women's circle, let me take one out of this while we wait. If you've ever been to a women's circle, everyone just kind of sits around, talks, someone brings a topic and you all kind of discuss it. You do a bit of a guided meditation, a bit of a journaling session. That's what I want this podcast to be. In my ideal mind, I would love, maybe next year, my New Year's resolution or goal will be to facilitate some sort of women's circle or kind of like run an event with us. And I would love to bring, look, I'm very torn because I love podcasts where there are like multiple people. I don't think I want to be like an interview podcast. Like I love them. Like I love Tim Ferriss and Danny Miranda. I think those two podcasts are just such good examples of, obviously Queen Alex Cooper, call her daddy. I love those kind of interview style podcasts for them. I don't see myself being an interview podcast, but I would love to have people on, not like necessarily like famous people, obviously, because like who's going to come to my house? Oh, Alex Cooper, come and sit under my Christmas blanket with my cup of tea, sit on my floor in my apartment in the south of England and let's do a podcast. But I would love to bring on like you guys. Like the only people I kind of have interest in talking to are you and like this community and people that I actually have like lots in common with and would love to just like record a conversation. Kind of like if you watch or listen to Goes Without Saying by Seffi and Wing, they are just best friends and they don't do interviews, they just talk to each other and I love that. So why did I start talking about that? Oh yeah, come to my house. So if you want to put something in the jar, come to my house and do it yourself. Or alternatively, if you maybe live very far away and that is not accessible, you can put a question in digitally. There's a link in my bio or wherever that goes in the description. Okay, let's do the check-in. What is the question? Oh, this one's a good one. I really need a name for this section, guys. If you are a creative person and you have an idea for a name for this section, let me know. This one is, when you think about the future, what are you most afraid of? When you think about the future, what are you most afraid of? I immediately know my answer because it is always the same whenever I think about fear. I'm afraid of getting to the end of my life and looking back and having wished I'd done it differently or wished I'd done other things. Or not even getting to the end of my life, but I'm afraid, I guess, in a smaller sense, not seizing opportunities when I could have seized them. A really small example of that is like fitness and like my body. I've been through, I'll probably podcast about this because we have 24 days of podcasting and we've got to talk about something. But I have been through this like crazy journey with my body and like food addiction, binge eating, disordered eating, exercise addiction, all of those types of things. So I've kind of had this very weird relationship with my body where I'm like, I don't want to become addicted to changing my body and I don't want to be addicted to being thin. And long story long, I'm going to save that story for another day, but an example of this is, I know right now I'm the youngest I will ever be, obviously. And I am conscious that this is kind of the prime time to be fit. And the younger you are, the easier it is to put on muscle, the easier it is to change your body composition. And the more work you put into your body now, the easier it is as you get older. And I also think that like, I'm young right now and single, so why not try and be as sexy as humanly possible and like try and have the sexiest body as humanly possible. But I fear that like I haven't been doing that the past few years because I've been I don't want to be like saying like recovering, because that makes it sound way more dramatic and intentional than it actually has been. But I've kind of been neglecting that. And I know that you can do fitness at any point. You can start fitness at any point. Like my mum started running at, I don't know exactly how old she was, but when she divorced my dad, and then she like ran a marathon. My mum ran a marathon, and before she like never ran at all or like went to the gym or anything. So you truly can do things at any age. But I guess I just fear I wasted potential and not doing things and I could have done them or should have done them. Just wasted potential, not making the most of every opportunity, not doing all of the things that I want to do, or doing all of the things that I don't even realize I want to do until it's too late. I guess like waiting until it's too late. Yeah. I was going to bring up kids and the idea of kids and having kids, not having kids, but that is going to be a way different episode. Today, we're talking about being multi-passionate. I want to make an episode about multi-passionate because I identify as a multi-passionate queen. No, I don't really. Well, I am multi-passionate. I really feel like I can't pull off queen. Some people say, they'll be like, oh, slay queen. Or, well, I think that's kind of disgusting anyway. And I don't think I would ever say, I also don't think I would ever say slay unless I'm talking about Christmas, like sleigh bells ringing. Where was I? I can't remember. Oh yeah, multi-passionate queen. Oh yeah, like I can't pull off queen. I feel like American people, so I spent 2 months in America recently. I spent like from the end of September until the end of November. Basically, I came back like last week. And I feel like American people can pull off queen. They're like, so when like American people be like, oh, go off queen. Like I can't say, listen to me say, go off queen. It sounds so fake and it sounds so put on. I feel like I have to put on an American accent to make queen sound right. Like I'm trying to make queen happen. I'm trying to make fetch happen, and it's just not happening. But I identify as like a multi-passionate person, okay? I've never resonated with the idea of being like one thing. Growing up in school, I was never like one thing. Like when I was a kid, like a child, I liked animals, so I thought I wanted to be a vet. I liked space, so I went through a phase of thinking I was going to be like an astronaut. Then I just didn't know, and I liked the idea of travel, so I thought I was going to join... This is funny, I forgot about this until I just started thinking about it. I thought I was going to join the RAF. Is it the RAF? Or like one of the forces and become like a language. For some reason, I thought I was going to be able to learn multiple languages and then become like a translator for the RAF and be able to travel the world as part of the forces. I think that's so funny that I want to do that. But that just goes to show, like, I truly didn't really know. And then I got into trampolining when I was in school, and I thought I was going to be like a trampoline coach and like train people up into like international level trampolining. I thought I was going to go to university and study sports science. Then I thought I would go to university and study environmental science and become like an environmental activist. I still consider going to university and studying psychology because I love psychology. I've just never had that one thing. And I've really envied people. I had friends at school who were like, I want to be a doctor. I want to do medicine. Their parents did medicine. They came into school wanting to do medicine. They worked, they did all of the subjects they had to do when we picked our GCSEs and they picked their A-levels. It was all, I need to do X, Y, and Z because I'm going to study medicine. Lo and behold, what are they doing right now? Medicine. I always envied that because I felt like these people had a very acute sense of purpose and a very strong direction. I think it's very easy to live your life when you know, like when everything is kind of focusing to one direction, it's very easy to, I feel like that's easier, right? Like you know where you're going. You don't have this kind of regularly programmed existential crisis about whether you're doing the right thing, whether you're spending your life doing the right thing, what you should be doing, how you should be living, X, Y, Z. But I am coming to believe that being multi-passionate and having lots of these things and not really knowing is such a blessing. And on this episode, if you feel the same way, you're like, God, it would be so much easier if I just had a singular purpose, a vocation, something that I knew I wanted to do. It would be so much easier. But I want you to leave this episode, I hope you leave this episode realizing and appreciating just how special it is to have so many different areas of your life. I'm right now, even as I'm speaking, I'm thinking of a quote or like a passage from a book that I feel like really encompasses this, and I really want to start off with it. So let me just find it. Oscar Wilde said that if you know what you want to be, then you inevitably become it. That is your punishment. But if you never know, then you can be anything. There is a truth to that. We are not nouns, we are verbs. I am not a thing, an actor, a writer. I am a person who does things. I write, I act, and I never know what I'm going to do next. I think you can be imprisoned if you think of yourself as a noun. I just think that is absolutely stunning. I think that is so stunning. You are not a noun, you are a verb. You are not a podcaster, you are not a barista, you are not a waitress, you are not a lawyer, you are nothing. You are someone who practices law. You are someone who likes to write. You are someone who has a podcast. And I think if you are multi-passionate, as a multi-passionate person, I feel like I can never commit to one thing because I'm so afraid that will be my thing and it won't encompass all of the things. And this is all subconscious, like this is never an active thought. But I think if I had to put meaning to it, it would be that I feared that one thing would not fulfill me and make me happy, or not make me happy, bring me happiness and bring me a lot of joy. So I'm afraid to commit to it because I don't want to commit to a life that I don't like. But if you start seeing yourself as just someone doing things and like just someone who can try many things and have many lives, I think being multi-passionate can be really special. And I thought it could be fun. So like I said, I've never really resonated with the idea of like having one thing. I've also never been the type of person to have like a single aesthetic, or a single like group. I've never really fit into like a typecast. So I've never fit into like, some people are like emo. Some people are goths. Some people are kind of like the clean girl aesthetic. I think this is kind of a new phenomenon where we have the inability to be anyone unless we define it by a cute little title, like soft girl, that girl, dark feminine girl. But I've never resonated with any of these. I've never really fit into a category. Throughout my lifetime, I feel like I've just embodied so many different archetypes and characters, and I thought it could be fun to take you through the journeys of the different characters that I have embodied through my adult lifetime and show you exactly why it is literally, I know we use that word too much, but in this case, this is what I mean, literally imperative to your character arc that you try on all of the people you want to be and you embrace all of the facets of your personality. I'm going to show you the differences in my era. So let's go. Welcome to my character lore, the lore of Polly the Multi-Passionate Queen. Okay, the first very strong character archetype I had was back in 2014/2015, and this is when I was the fitness girly. I was the fitness girly. I worked in a gym. I was obsessed with fitness. I was very deep. I mentioned this on another episode, but I think that one's going to come out after this, so this is kind of the first time you've heard this. I was deep into the Fitfluencer YouTube world. Okay, I wasn't a creator. I was a consumer. Think Christian Guzman, Amanda Bucci in her fitness era, Dunk when she was in her fitness era, Marie Wald, all of those like fitness girlies, when all of that kind of bodybuilding world working towards those bikini shows where you'd like go on stage and like pose and and pose. I don't want to invalidate it because I know people still do this, but it was a huge era back then in like 2014 YouTube, and I was so deep in it. I trained 6 days a week. I counted calories. I counted my macronutrients. Nothing entered my body without me calculating whether it was going to help me become a skinny little legend and perform on stage as a bodybuilder. This was an essential part of my character for multiple reasons. Number one is I learned the power of being surrounded by something. This is what I learned from being this character. And this is what I want to show you why it's so imperative to try on all these characters, because you learn different things about yourself from different characters and different archetypes and different phases of your life. I learned the power of being surrounded by something. When I was doing this, everything I did in my life was centered around this. My boyfriend at the time, he is the boyfriend that we mentioned, the one who got away. That's what we're calling him between you and me, but don't tell anyone else that, because if that gets out and he happened to see that, that would be very embarrassing for me. He was also deep into fitness. So all we did, like our whole life was focused around being fitness people. We went to the gym 5-6 days a week. We counted all of our calories, all of our food. We would meal prep. I worked in a gym, so everybody around me was working on the same thing. Like if you are in a gym or you work in a gym, the likelihood is you kind of fitness is a part of your life. And I learned then the power of being surrounded by something and how the people around you and your environment literally determines what is important to you. It also, which leads me on to my next character archetype, my obsession with kind of food and calories and just like, ugh, that was a hard time in my life. But that obsession with food led me to finding veganism and led me to going vegan, which leads me to my next character archetype, and that is the angry vegan. I was the classic angry vegan stereotype. Like, you know, when people are like, how do you know people are vegan? They'll tell you about it. That was me. I was proud. I was the person who was going to marches, protesting on the streets, holding up signs. I wasn't the person who chained myself to the, you know, a lot of people, well, if you're not in this world, you probably don't know this exists, but I was the person who I wasn't this person, but I was at events where we were like chaining ourselves to slaughterhouses. The only reason I didn't do it is because I was in Australia and I thought if I got arrested, I would get sent home from Australia, and I really didn't want that. So I didn't do that, but I was there. I was in solidarity with these people. I am still vegan for the record, but I'm now vegan. You know, I used to be like vegan. Now I'm vegan. But what I learned from my angry vegan era, from being this angry vegan, is I learned how good it feels to be connected to something bigger than yourself and to be connected to and working towards a bigger goal that is more than just a personal goal. Because we were all working for animal liberation. I literally, from this era, let me show you, I got a tattoo that says animal liberation, okay? And I still hold that very dearly to my heart. It was fundamentally something that we all had jobs, we were all working, like this was very much a passion thing. It was something that we were doing that we weren't making money from, going to marches, going to events, being activists. It wasn't something that we were like profiting from monetarily, but it felt so good to be a part of something. And that was the first time I'd ever really felt like I was a part of something bigger than myself. And that was huge. That was probably, I would definitely say that was probably one of the happiest times in my life. And not just because of that. And I think there are other components that go into that. Like I was younger, I was 19, 20, living in Australia. My job was very chill. I was working as an au pair in Australia, which was on the whole very chill. It was Australia. I didn't have like my own business. Like I wasn't freelancing, so I didn't have that level of pressure. So I think there were lots of components, but I think a huge component of my joy and happiness then was having something bigger to be connected to. And so that's a huge lesson, and something I remind myself of often when I ever feel kind of purposeless, is how good it feels to find something to work on and to support, like causes to support that are bigger than yourself. Also, kind of completely irrelevant, but also a skill. Is it a skill? I guess it is. Something that I've carried from then on that has played such a huge part in my life is my ability to meet new people and connect with new people, find ways to connect with new people. I was in Australia, and this was the first time I'd ever kind of gone online. I felt so passionately about being vegan, and I wanted to be around more people who are passionate about this. And you can take this for any like hobby or interest. So this was the first time I kind of sought friends based on mutual interest. So I joined like a bunch of Facebook groups back when Facebook was a little bit more kind of happening, and I met up with a load of people from these Facebook groups, like vegan activist and vegan girls Facebook groups. And that was the first time ever that I had met up with people through the internet. And now that is something that's kind of signposted every era of my life. It built a lot of confidence in me to show up to events not knowing anyone and going to things where I didn't know anyone and just trusting that I would meeting people online with mutual interests. And that, as you know, is something I now do all of the time. And that's how I make all of my friends pretty much. And how I've had so many experiences. And I wouldn't have had that had I have not had my angry vegan era. The next archetype that I embodied in my multi-passionate puzzle of existence is the girl boss. You know this one well, like you've been here since 2020. That is what we've been doing. We've been hashtag girl bossing. We've been freelancing, making our own income, building businesses, figuring out social media, figuring out how to do the girl boss thing. It's been a huge era. I think we're kind of still in that era, but things that I would not have learned had I have not allowed myself, because I think the girl boss thing and the angry vegan thing, they don't really go together, right? Like those two things don't make any sense together, really. And I think that's when you're multi-passionate and you have lots of interests, I think something we can really get down on ourselves about is the fact that none of your interests make sense. And so a lot of advice for people who are multi-passionate that obviously comes from people who are not multi-passionate is combine your interests. Like find 2 or 3 things you enjoy and combine them together. But oftentimes, so much of the things you're interested in do not make sense together. And so I think it can be very easy for us to like get frustrated and almost like reject some parts of ourselves because they don't make sense. You're like, or I can't be a pole dancer and meditate and be a spiritual person. And so you kind of feel like at war with yourself. But this goes to show that you absolutely can. And I want to be living, breathing proof that you absolutely can. Your phases, and you will continue to see this, your phases do not have to make sense. So from the girl boss era, I have learned, oh God, I've learned so many things from this. I think the enormous one, and this is kind of glaringly obvious, is that I can, and it is possible to make money on your own and as like a sole person, and you can make money as a freelancer and just like how to make money. And before that, I didn't know how to do this. Like I knew that people made money doing their own thing. Like my dad was self-employed and I knew that people did that and you see it online. But this era in really embracing this part of myself and this desire to like see if I could do the whole girl boss thing really showed me that you can, and it is possible, and it showed me how to do that. It also showed me probably the biggest lesson that I've learned from 4 years of, we'll just call it freelancing because I don't want to say girl bossing too much. From these years of freelancing, I have learned that things literally always work out and you always find a way. Even if you have absolutely no idea how, it always works out. There have been multiple occasions where I've been like, I don't know how I'm going to pay my rent. I don't know how I'm going to continue on. I'm going to have to give all of this up and go back to having a regular job. It always works out. You always find ways to work out. Even if it looks different to the way you thought it would, things always work out. And through 4 years of freelancing now, I have got so much lived experience and examples that I can look back on and be like, okay, I've been in this position before and I know it works out. And when I was in that position, I had no idea how it was going to work out and I was stressed and I was afraid, but it did work out. Now I have so much proof for myself that it does work out, that whenever now I'm confronted with any situation, there's very, very seldom moments where I deep in the depths of despair that things aren't going to work out. There's very, very few moments where I kind of I'm in like freak out mode about things not working out, because I have so much. It's not about like blind faith and blind trust. You know, people are like, oh, trust the universe has got your back, like things will always work out for you, trust the universe. No, it's not about that. You can't just trust the universe. You have to trust yourself. You have to learn how to trust yourself, and the way that you learn how to trust yourself is through lived experience. It's by experiencing something, coming out of it the other end, and now you have a tangible example of things always working out. And the more that you do that, the more you can trust that things always work out. And I've done that so much. And I have so many examples of where I've been like, oh dear, don't know where this is going to go. Don't know how I'm going to get out of this one. And I do. Now I just have that faith and trust, but it's not blind faith and blind trust. It's like lived, proven experience and trust. And I'd have never got that had I have not lived in my #girlboss era. The hippie beach bum. This was a good era. This was a short era. This was mainly in Mexico. Well, this was kind of only in Mexico, but I really embodied my hippie beach bum era in Mexico. I grew out my armpit hair. I grew out my leg hair. I basically lived on the beach. I worked as little as humanly possible, just enough to get me by. I don't think I put a pair of shoes on for 6 months, and I loved it. It was stunning. I did yoga every single morning on the top of my hotel that I was living in. We went to women's circles and ecstatic dances, and everything about life there was just about peace and tranquility and living that like chill Mexico coastal life. It was absolutely stunning, and I think about it sometimes. I think about going back a lot. That, again, on paper, that doesn't really make sense considering just before then I was in that very strong like girl boss hustle mentality, hustle mindset, work as much as possible. Going from that to hippie beach bum, doesn't wear a pair of shoes, does not want to touch her laptop more than an hour a day. That's a huge change, but these were just facets of myself that I wanted to explore. And I think my main thing that I learned and like took away from this era and like living that life is yoga. I spent so much time doing yoga, and I'd done yoga a fair amount before this, but I did so much yoga, and now I do yoga still a lot, and I'm at a yoga studio now, and I love yoga, and I want to do my yoga teacher training because I think it's just like such a powerful tool. I wouldn't have learned that had I have not just allowed myself to go to Mexico and just have fun and follow whatever I found interesting. Also, what was so fun about this era is I didn't really drink alcohol. I wasn't really like super into drinking. I think I probably drank like twice while I was there in 6 months. But we used to go out all the time because I lived in Sayulita, which is like a really, really small town. Everyone kind of knows each other, little beachy town. And there were a few clubs, but the clubs in Mexico, surprise, surprise, play reggaeton music. And reggaeton music is so fun to dance to that we used to go out like 3 or 4 nights a week dancing in these clubs. It was so small, you could walk from your hotel to these clubs within like 3 minutes. So we would all just meet at these clubs and we would go dancing, and that was like the first time ever that I'd kind of consistently gone out, but without drinking and just for the music. It wasn't about like going out for guys or like male validation. My friends and I used to have jokes because I was so not anti men, but I just didn't want to be hit on, and like guys would come up to me and try and like dance with me or like gauge the interest. You know, when they come up to you and they're like, you can tell that their energy is focused towards you. I would literally turn around to them and be like, sorry, I'm here for the music, and just like move on with my night because I was so there for just like the dancing and the experience and being there with my friends. And that was the first time ever that I'd really experienced that. And I think I just fell in love with like, dancing and music and fun there. And that was just like such a wholesome time of my life. And I wouldn't have had that if I have been super connected to one purpose. If I was like, no, I'm fucking girl bossing till the cows come home and I will be a girl boss for the rest of my life, I would have never done that. The next era that we have moved into is the Blair Waldorf era. And I'm calling it this because I just got back from New York and I just love New York so much. And I feel like New York really embodies what I mean by this. But you could also call this the city girl era, the makeup era, the putting a care into your appearance era. I've mentioned this multiple times before. I didn't wear makeup for years. I didn't put effort into my appearance for years. I mean, granted, I am wearing trackies and a sweatpants. Did I just say sweatpants? Okay, I promise you, on my life, I've never said that before. Joggers, trackies. Where was I going with that? God, I just like blindsided myself with the fact I said sweatpants. I think I spent too much time in the UK, in America. Like I've really, this year particularly, have started to embrace the female expression. And by that, I mean putting fucking effort into what I look like. I have found it so fun, just really like living the city girl life, going from very hippie beach bum. And then during kind of the vegan phase before that, like the girl boss, I was too fucking busy. Or I felt like I was too busy to focus on my appearance at all. This year, for the first time ever, has been my year to kind of embrace aesthetics and find an interest in kind of what I look like, put makeup on, put an effort into clothes. Again, not today. Although there's really something about putting on makeup, liking what you look like, and then wearing like comfy clothes that I just really enjoy. Going to New York and Chicago, and even earlier in the year being in Paris multiple times, being in London even. I've really enjoyed the kind of city girl life, really embracing that like city girl era, caring about what you look like, even if you just get dressed up to go for a coffee. I've been loving doing that, taking photos of your outfits. Even though I'm not a fashion girly, I'm definitely an aspiring fashion girly, Pinterest girly, but I just don't think that is who I am as a person. But embracing that part has just shown me how good it feels to put effort into your appearance. It is crazy to me how I can wake up in the morning and be like, God, I do not want to record anything. The idea of putting a camera on and speaking makes me feel physically ill. And then I will get up and I will get ready. Like this morning I straightened my hair and I like put makeup on, and then I was like, okay, let's fucking podcast. Like, let's go and sit down and speak. I don't know what I'm going to speak on, but it's going to be something. And just the difference it makes in your confidence. And I think the way that not your confidence, I'm speaking about myself. I don't want to speak for you. The difference it makes in my confidence and the way that I carry myself, the way that I engage with people, my body language, I just think it's been so interesting to watch how I feel differently about myself when I embrace these kind of more girly things. And that has been really fun. And so that has been an archetype. I feel like that's the archetype I'm kind of embracing right now. And I'm excited to see where that goes and see future archetypes. My last archetype that I'm embracing right now at this very moment, which I never thought I would appreciate or enjoy. I would have told you up until very recently that this is my worst nightmare. It is the homebody, the cozy pajama homebody gal. Up until very recently, would have told you that I never want to stay in one place for more than 6 months. I am a commitment phobe. I don't like staying in one place. I get bored. All of that is true. But there's something to be said about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, okay? In Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the fundamental basis of having our needs met, the needs that we need met, that we need meeting first are fundamental basic ones. Shelter, food, money. The first layer of needs are the physiological needs, okay? Food, water, shelter, security of resources, security of shelter, security of food. All of those are fundamental to feeling safe and secure and happy. And if we want to experience the higher tiers of needs, like the creativity, the self-actualization, purpose, etc., you have to have these fundamentals down first. And what I've realized since coming home, and I kind of realized this while I was traveling, and it has just been affirmed to me since coming home, is that when I'm traveling and constantly moving around, I have no level of security. And I think that's really fun for short periods of time. But since I've come home, I have felt so relaxed. Everything has just felt like it has just fallen into place. I feel like I can be more creative. I can sleep better. And I think the idea of having one base and just being cozy and having somewhere to like lay on my sofa under 15 blankets and just relax, knowing where everything is, like feeling comfortable, I think is so underrated. And if you'd have asked me 3 years ago what I wanted, it would have been the opposite of that. And so coming home and just having this like homebody, like being in my apartment with my sister for a short period of time has shown me that that is very important. And having like security and stability, I think is very important. And so I don't know how to balance that with my other archetypes of traveling and needing novelty and adventure and newness. But I'm working on that. I'm figuring that out. All of this goes to say that being multi-passionate is kind of fucking awesome, because look at all of the lives that I've been able to live, all of the places that these desires and these different passions have taken me, and they will continue to take me. I don't know where I'm going to be next year. Multi-passionate people can't be like, this is who I'm going to be next year. How do we know? In any moment, we could up and change it to something else. And I think that's so exciting. And sometimes I would say 90% of the time I feel excited about that. And 10% of the time I'm like, oh God, why can I not just stick to something? But I hope this episode, if you are a multi-passionate person, I hope this helps you feel validated in your multi-passion, in your desire to be everything and do everything and try anything, and not, I don't want us to feel limited by that. I want that to liberate us, because we only have one life. What a shame it would be to just pick one personality and pick one character and just stick to it our entire lives. How boring that would be. How few stories we would have if we just stuck to one thing. So fucking be whoever you want to be. Don't be afraid to change. Be a phoenix. What is the phoenix called in Harry Potter? Fawkes. Be like Fawkes. The phoenix, I feel like I should get a phoenix tattoo or something. I just love the idea that you can burn down and regrow anew whenever you desire. Like, be a phoenix, rise from your ashes, be whoever the fuck you want to be 80 different people if you want to be. You've only got one life, baby. Be a multi-passionate queen. Still can't pull off queen. Okay, love you. Happy Podmas. If you got this far and you're still listening, let me know what archetype you have been. Let me know what character you have been this year, and if there's any other characters you are interested or excited to play with next year. I'm super interested. Okay, mwah, love you. See you tomorrow.